Welcome to From the Hip, the Hughes Initiative podcast, where we keep it real about law enforcement and how it impacts everyone. For new police officers, we have the tips and tools to help you thrive. And for the American public, we break down what you need to know about the interactions that you have with the people behind the badge. Let's learn, connect, and bring about some real change together. You're watching and you're listening to From the Hip. Let's go. Welcome. We're going live here. Welcome to From the Hip, the Hughes Initiative podcast. I'm so glad that you all are here with me tonight. We got a good one for you. We are going to have drunk driving, the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of drunk driving, how to avoid it, and why it actually happens. Before we get started, you see us scrolling across the bottom of the screen. First things first. If you are a new police officer or someone in law enforcement who's looking for a reset, you need to get a copy of this here. Dominate your first year as a cop, right? And as an American citizen, you need to get signed up for it. Gotta have you in it. The Citizens Police Education Program, the online course that teaches you everything you need to know about exercising your rights safely and how to interact with cops positively. I want to thank everybody. If you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, or if you're right here with me on TikTok, click that like, click that follow, click that subscribe, my YouTubers. And ultimately, what I need you to do, I need you to click that share button, smash that thing. I need you to break your screen with that share button, okay? That's what I need from you. So I want to just get started right away. And we start with a question. And the question is this. When a police officer tells you to get out of your vehicle, do you have to get out of your vehicle? Do you have to get out? That's the question. Do you have to get out of your vehicle? In the comments, let me know what you think. What do you think, TikTok? Yes, no. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, yes, no. When a police officer says, sir, ma'am, I need you to step out. What do we do? Yes, no, let me know in the comments. Yes, no, okay. The answer is yes. And it's yes, but let's dive deeper into the yes. And why is it yes? Because that's always the question. Somebody on traffic stop, I say, hey, you need to step out. They say, why? Why? And the answer is because of case law. This is what governs what we do as police officers. It's case law. And my boy Dre, he described it to me in this very plain way, and it was really great. A police officer has an interaction with an American citizen. That American citizen doesn't like the outcome. So they go to the courts and they say, I think my rights were violated during this encounter. And the courts review all the information they have and they make a determination. It's a yes or it's a no. If it's a yes, the police officer did violate your rights, you get what's known as case law. For police officers, sometimes they call it you made bad case law, because that case law now restricts what a police officer can do in a similar situation to the one that was decided by the courts. But contrarily, if the courts find that a police officer did not violate a person's rights, then we get a case law that it almost in a sense expands what we can do as law enforcement, or it clarifies in this very situation or a similar situation, we can do this. So for American citizens, the answer is yes, you do have to get out of the car. And the reason why is the case law for drivers of Pennsylvania versus Mims. The courts decided in this case that a police officer asking you to step out of the car, they use the term de minimis, which in plainer language is minor. It is a minor push into your Fourth Amendment right to be free from searches and seizures that are illegal. So they said yes. You have to step out because it's a minor intrusion. And understand this. And sometimes people, they just, they really forget what this job is really like. The courts don't. They don't. And they on the side of officer safety because they know this job is dangerous. An operator of a motor vehicle, a passenger in a car, they present a very large threat to a police officer simply because they are inside of a vehicle and we can't see everything. Right? That's part of it. We cannot see everything that is in the vehicle. Click the like if you're on TikTok. Also, this, and this is really important for everyone to understand. Judges don't care about you getting your rights violated by police officers. Not in the sense, not in the way that you think that they should. They don't. Here's what they say. Get your rights violated and then bring it to us and we will make you whole. We exist for a reason. Judges exist for a reason, and they have to. Because if you do not have the checks and balances of law enforcement, attorneys and judges, and we allow American citizens to decide what is and what is not illegal for them, then you no longer have a functioning society. What you have is anarchy. You have a society with no checks and balances, with no parameters. And even if it's just the idea of law enforcement finding out that you did something, if that's what deters people, then that's more than other places. We see in other countries, third world countries, countries without strong government, countries without strong law enforcement. Militias come in, take over a whole town, send who they want to the right hand of the Lord, and put the other ones in enslavement. That's not what we do here in this country. Law enforcement exists for a reason, and judges, they understand that. So, for drivers, the case is Pennsylvania versus Mims. For passengers, it is a case known as Maryland versus Wilson. This is the case law that says, yes, a police officer can ask or request or tell, however you want to put it, a passenger of a vehicle to step out. You have to get out. Now, to springboard off of that is the question that gets asked often: as a passenger of a vehicle, do I have to give a police officer my identification? And the answer off the top is no, you don't. But if you are in violation of some statute or some law, then yes, you must. And here's why I'll caution you. And this is why the Hughes Initiative exists for American citizens. Don't play games, right? It's the same thing for the drivers. You get your rights violated and bring it to us. The reason I created the Citizens Police Education Program, which is available on the website, hi-teaches.com, is because American citizens unknowingly open the door for force to be used against them by law enforcement, by resisting lawful orders or unlawful orders. Either way. And for drivers and passengers, understand this. Traffic stops are supposed to be routine, 5 to 7 minutes. I just did one not too long ago, 3 minutes. Guy didn't know I was behind him, made it, tried to get away, made some crazy decisions. I get behind him, I pull him over, I walk up to the car. He's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, yeah. ID, registration, all that good stuff. Go back, come back. Here's this. 3 minutes. Something light, something easy, something quick. That's the way it's supposed to be. Do not extend your traffic stop by what I refer to as dying on hills that you don't have to. Don't play attorney. You watch 2-3 YouTube videos. You want to be a sovereign citizen. You won't ever see that work because that is not the case. So, do you have to get out of the car? Yes. Yes, you do. Please, if you don't remember anything else, remember that. All right? Let's move on. So when I ask you to step out, you step out with a smile because RC just taught you, just educated you on the fact that you have to. Now, let's talk driving under the influence. However you want to call it, DUI, OVI, DWI, depending on where you are in the country. I want to talk about the process, but let's talk about the why we use alcohol. Inside of my program, the EAR model, where we discuss ego, arrogance, and rage and how they affect police officers negatively, we talk about alcohol as the distraction wound of distraction. It gets very loud in silence when you're by yourself. You think about it. You say, oh, okay, I'm going to drink because I got some free time. What's actually happening is in that stillness of you being by yourself, you aren't able to handle everything up here. The self-doubt, the self-hate, the anger, the worry, all of these things that are happening to you that you hear, you aren't able to deal with it. So you distract yourself with alcohol. That's why we drink. Make no mistake about it. That's what I believe. That's why we drink. You're not drinking to have a good time because alcohol is a poison. That's like saying, okay, I have four Budweisers. You might as well have 4 cans of Pine Sol because it's the same thing, right? There's no benefit to it. I had a conversation with my oldest baby, and I asked her straight up. I said, Charlie Murphy, you ever drank alcohol before? And she was like, yeah, Daddy, I have. And I was like, you did? Like I was crushed. I was like, you did? I was just being, I was just being foolish. You did? She's like, yeah. And I was like, well, what was your experience like? And she said to me that one, she didn't get to enjoy it because everyone around her was way drunker than her. She ended up having to take care of them. But she said something even more profound. And this is kind of where I was hoping that she would get to at some point. I would hope that a lot of people would get to at some point. She said, Daddy, if I feel like I have to drink to go somewhere, then I probably shouldn't be there. And I was like, yes. Thank you so much for coming to that conclusion, because that's true. If you feel like you have to drink, you can't be who you really are in a place, you probably shouldn't be there. Think about why we go to clubs and things of that nature. You say you want to socialize, but can you socialize there as you, the person? Can you socialize there as you, who you are? Can you be around those people? Or do you have to distract yourself in order to have a good time? It's deep here from the hip, right? It's more than just the facts. Like there's thoughts that go on here. So let's talk driving under the influence. What is DUI? What is DWI? What are these things? It's when a police officer believes that you're too drunk or too high to drive a vehicle safely. One of the comments here on TikTok, last time I drank, I ended up in the middle of a cornfield in my truck, not knowing how I got there, right? Drinking ain't it. It's true. It's when a police officer believes you're we call it impaired to operate a motor vehicle safely, right? Either that be by alcohol or that be by controlled substances, including weed. Okay. And to add, the way most statutes read when it comes to controlled substances, it's any amount, right? There's a threshold for alcohol, and we'll dive into it a little later on. There's a threshold for alcohol, but for drugs, any amount renders you incapable of safely operating a motor vehicle. Medical marijuana don't matter. Here's what I tell people. I know other police officers do as well. I don't care what you do inside your home, but when you come outside and you think, oh, okay, well, I smoke, I'm a better driver. Jesus help me. I'm a better driver after I've smoked weed, or I drive better, or I'm just a little buzzed. When you come outside and you make that selfish decision, then you become law enforcement's issue. You could drink to your heart's content. You could smoke to your lungs' content inside your home. But when you start to include other people in your negative actions, then you become a problem. The other thing is this: don't try to outsmart police officers. Let me make this plain for you. At 2 o'clock in the morning, call it 2 to 4. It's like, Cassie, it's just me and you out there. It's just law enforcement and you, because the vast majority of people out between these hours are more than likely leaving an establishment that furnishes alcoholic beverages to its patrons. Because what else is open? We post-COVID, Walmart everywhere isn't open 24 hours a day. Restaurants aren't open 24 hours a day anymore. There might be those random people that are just out for a drive, but that's immediately apparent. But when it's 2:45, you're driving over the lane, or you're driving 20 miles an hour and somewhere where the speed limit is 45 or 50. You're swerving and you get pulled over. It's natural to assume that this person is probably intoxicated, even if you just base it off of the hour of the day. But we as American citizens, because I mean, even here in the comments and TikToks, where people are saying, well, someone said that, cops are incompetent. You can play that game if you like, and I can almost certainly guarantee that you will find that to not be true. Charlie, you work at night, you get pulled over, you'll be able to tell that you're not intoxicated. But back to trying to outsmart police officers. We go to plenty training. And let me tell you something about DUI. It's the easiest way to get arrested as an American citizen, in my opinion. It's also it's the one way you can avoid the most, simply by just not doing it. There's no way to you trick your way, gum don't work, that stuff, just don't do it. There also has to be a level of accountability, which is what I've seen kind of dissipate over the course of the last, call it 5 years. You was at the bar. I can already smell it on you. But for you to tell me you had nothing to drink, as watery as your eyes is, as bad as your driving is, as you could smell the alcohol coming out of the car. This ain't day one. And even if it is day one, I teach you what to look for inside the book, Dominate Your First Year as a Cop, for new police officers. So you're really in a world of trouble when it comes that way, because it's a layup. I'm just be honest with you. DUIs are a layup for a normal police officer. It's the easiest way to make an arrest. Go out at 2:15, 2:30, 3 o'clock. You get out in that 3 o'clock hour. And Dre here, he can tell you get out in that 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock hour. This is when you're getting those people who are really, really drunk. Really, really drunks. Don't try to outsmart cops. You just go through the process, right? Just go through the process. Let's move on. All right. So you get pulled over. On TikTok, a couple nights ago, we discussed traffic stops and everything about them. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, y'all missed it. Oh, y'all missed it. It was good. It was a good one. You get pulled over. Police officer asks you to step out to perform standardized field sobriety testing. Do you perform standardized field sobriety testing? Yes or no in the comments. Let me know what you think. Do you have to? Rather, do you have to? Ash says yes. Here's what I'll say. Ask the question. Ask the question. Am I required to perform these tests? Because what I hear is in some places, like you do, in some places, like here, I'm here in Pennsylvania, you don't, you're not required to. Be sure and ask the question. That's your best bet. That's my best piece of advice for you. Ask the question. If the answer is no, you're not required to, then I would tell you to not. And I'm saying that as a police officer. I'm telling you, it's of no benefit to you to perform these tests. They're not pass or fail. They just simply show the signs of impairment. And I'm telling you right now that it's probably your best bet to not do that. As the country becomes more obese and more out of shape, these tests require a level of core stability. They require a level of ankle flexion, right? A strong back, strong legs. You don't exercise, you don't work out, like you carrying around a little extra weight, you're not going to do well on these tests. So I would tell you just don't even. No, officer, I don't want to submit to standardized field sobriety testing. Okay? Portable breath test, low PBT. Again, your call. And so if you know that for 100% that you haven't had anything to drink, I would just say, just give me the PBT. Skip the standardized field sobriety testing. Just give me the PBT, and I'll show you that I'll blow all zeros. But I wouldn't advise that if you had been drinking, because later on we're going to talk about how BACs work, and you may be drunker than what you think you are. And understand the legal limit is only 0.08, which is very low. And it's actually been lowered over the course of time. It's super low. So PBT, if you ain't been drinking at all, like zero, nothing, sure. Standardized field sobriety testing, skip it if you're allowed to. All right. So say you do the test and the officer says you're free to go. All good, right? But what happens if you're not and they place you under arrest? The next thing that's going to happen is a police officer is going to read you a form. Different states have different names for it. Essentially, what is known as implied consent. Meaning, and this is the why. There's the why. Here's the definition of implied consent. It's assumed, implied, that if a police officer places you under arrest for DUI, you will consent. That means say yes to an official test, either a blood draw or an official breath test. Implied consent. Because driving is a privilege, it's not a right. I know there's some hang up with that with some people. It's a privilege, not a right. So, with it being a privilege, there are stipulations that come with it. This is why you have to take a written exam and you have to take an actual driving exam, because driving is not a right. Just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if driving was a right. How many more unfortunate incidents on the road would we have if we just allow people with no understanding and no training prior to getting behind the wheel of a 2,000 pound, 3,000, 4,000 pound vehicle to just get on the road and just start driving? 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. I mean, if it's a right, what's to stop a 9-year-old? That's why there's stipulations in place, because driving is a privilege, not a right. Implied consent. The name varies by state, but it is still the same everywhere. Police officers are going to ask you to submit to an official test, whether that be a breath test or a blood test. Here's the other part of it. You don't get to pick the test. You don't pick the test. Police officer decides what test they want you to submit to. Because a breath test ain't going to work if you're high. It's going to show nothing. I typically go for the blood draw. And in some states, if you say you don't want to do that, they just get a search warrant for you, right? Pennsylvania's form is the DL26B form. It explains the penalties and the penalties that come with saying no. So maybe you say yes. Okay, officer, I am willing to do this official test. You're either going to go to a hospital for the blood draw, or you're going to go to a police station or an official testing station for the breath test. And then from there, what happens if you say no? Now, this could be a little challenging. And so here's what I'll tell you. I've reached out to all 50 states at one or two levels each, a lot of phone calls. And I've asked a question. What do you do with people after you arrest them for DUI? And here's what I'll tell you. It absolutely varies across the country. A state like Pennsylvania, if you're from Pennsylvania, then you can be released. Same thing for Ohio. But like Georgia and other states like that, they're going to arrest you. And understand this. Don't miss what I just said about being from a state. Here in Pennsylvania, we can release Pennsylvanians to a sober party. But if you're from out of state, we have to put you in jail. Some states put everybody in jail. But some states, if you're not from there, we got to put you in jail. So if you are on vacation somewhere, Atlanta, Miami, California, you out bear hunting, out in Montana, and you get arrested for DUI, and you're not from there, say you're from New York State, they'll put you in jail. This is why drinking and driving, smoking and driving, I wouldn't advise it, because you could really, really ruin a vacation that way. So if you get cited, if you're from a state and it's a recite and release state, you can expect to get the criminal charges and the other paperwork in the mail. Now, let me stop here for a second. If you refuse to submit to a chemical test, whether it be blood or breath, whichever one it is, every time you're going to get a license suspension, not the vast majority. Every time you're going to it comes with an automatic license suspension. These two things are separate from each other, meaning the license suspension is administrative. It only deals with the license. The DUI is criminal. They're separate. The DUI may actually come within a suspension as well, depending on what your BAC is. So what I want to caution you on is this. Do not just you get arrested and you refuse. Do not just take care of the criminal stuff and forget about the driver's license stuff, because your license will still be suspended for being convicted of DUI or DUI related because you refused to test. And in order to get your license back, you have to pay money. Always, all the time, twice on Sunday. You got to pay money to get your stuff back. So you could go through the whole criminal process, and if your first time, you might get probation and stuff we'll talk about here in a second, but your driver's license will still be suspended. Don't forget that, because that's very, very important. That's a very important point I wanted to make. So if you're in a catch and release state, then that stuff will come in the mail. But if you're in a state that arrests you, they're going to book you, fingerprint, photograph, put you in a cell. Then you'll see a judge and they'll set a bail or a bond for you. Might let you go, might not, especially if you're not from there. They may just hold you to your preliminary hearing, which could be, a week, 2 weeks away. That's the challenge with drinking and driving. It like the noisy child from YouTube says, it's just better to get an Uber, because these things are expensive. First time penalties for DUI range from license suspension, community service, drug and alcohol classes, fines. There will always be fines, probation, possible jail time, depending on the actions. Depending on the actions, I talk about this often. Don't make a bad situation worse. This is why the Citizens Police Education Program exists. Can y'all see that up there? This is why CPEP exists, to give you the education so that you can replace the emotion and remove the emotion from the interaction. Because when you don't know what to do, then all you're left with is panic. That's it. That's all you got. Fear of the unknown. This is why people run. This is why people fight. This is why when I arrest people here in Pennsylvania, I tell them right before I arrest them, listen to me very closely. You're going to go home. Whether you give blood or breath after I read you this form and you make a decision, you're going to go home. If you're going to give blood, give me 45 minutes, depending on where you live in the closest hospital. Give me 45 minutes of your time. You'll be home in an hour and a half. Resisting and trying to run, you're going to jail. Now, why would you do that? So understand that. It's a bad situation. You get arrested. Okay. You get arrested. Don't make it worse by having additional charges added. All right. Before we wrap up, I want to talk to you about the BAC thing. And I want to do some math. So I need you to get your calculators out on your phones, get you a piece of paper, get you a pen. The reason and it's so easy to get arrested for DUI, is because the legal limit is so low and very few people actually stop there. The legal limit is 0.08. That's about two drinks, standard drinks. Now, what's the challenge in standard drinks? It depends on who's pouring them. Amen. It depends on who's pouring the drinks. Because if you're getting standard is one part. But if you're going to bars that are pouring you 3 parts, Hennessy, 1 part, whatever you mix it with, 2 parts Crown Royal, 1 part ginger ale, then you don't have a standard drink. And 1 drink can shoot you way up over 0.08. And it's important to understand this as well, because this is key. This is what people miss. When you stop drinking, say it's last call, 2:05, you get your last drink, throw it back. Your BAC does not immediately start to fall. In fact, your BAC continues to rise for between 30 and 90 minutes. You're still gonna go up before it starts to fall. So you could be at a 1-2 when you finish your last drink and get yourself to a 0.14 before it begins to fall. Now, here's where you need your calculators and stuff, because I love math. I asked the question, how long does it take to get from a 0.14 to a 0.08, the legal limit? Now, you have a start, 0.14. You have an end, a 0.08. Now what you need, I'll give you, is the rate at which your BAC declines per hour. And that rate is 0.015 milliliters an hour. That's it. And that's average. That's for someone in good shape and good health. There's other factors that are included. Age, weight, the last time you ate, the quality of your organs, right? The quality of your organs. So in order to get your answer, what you have to do is this. You take 0.14 and you subtract 0.08. So what's 14 minus 8? What's 14 minus 8, y'all? 0.016. You then take 0.3, Remar nurse 3, stick to, this is why you in there. 0.016, okay, the old lady, 0.06, I'm sorry, 0.06. So you take 0.06 and you divide it by 0.015. I want to show you something. It will take you look at the graph. Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn have the graph. It will take you 4 hours to get from a 0.14 to a 0.08. This is why when you stop drinking, you still can get arrested. It's not 30 minutes. It's not 15 minutes. Oh, I stopped drinking. I'm be good here in about an hour. No, that's not how it works. And actually on the graph, they can see, and I'll tell you, to get to 0.00, to get to all zeros from a 0.14, it's going to take you 9.33 repeating. So 9.5 hours. Your last drink is at 2 a.m. You won't be completely sober until 11 a.m. Think about that. It takes time, and the rate doesn't change. You can't speed it up. And if you eat, it actually slows it down because now your body has to deal with what you put in it. Another example, which is fairly common, is someone who gets themselves to a 0.20, 0.2, right? We do the math to get to a 0.08. 0.02 minus 0.08. 20 minus 8 is what? Yes, the old lady, even if you're drinking water, that does not help the blood. The alcohol is already in your bloodstream. It's already there. It's already there. The answer, right, it's 12, but it's 0.12. You take 0.12 and divide it by 0.015. And what you come up with is this, 8. It's going to take you 8 hours to get to the legal limit from a 0.20. You stop drinking at 2, you won't be to the legal limit till 10 o'clock. This is why people still get DUIs at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. This is why it still happens. Because the body can only metabolize it so fast. That's if you stop drinking completely. You leave the bar and an hour later, you have another drink. Understand this, you don't start at 0. Right? You don't start at 0. If it's an hour later, we know that it takes 30 to 90 minutes before it even begins to stop rising. You just go back up. You just add it. You just make the BAC higher. So to go from a 0.20 to all zeros, 0.20 divided by 0.015, what you come up with is 13 hours. Half a day. 3 p.m. the next day is when you'll be completely sober. This is the information you won't find anywhere else other than here from the Hughes Initiative podcast. And for me, your boy RC. I want to leave you with this. The easiest way to avoid this, all of this, is to submit to the will of God. What we find is the enemy has a bunch of tools that he will use to distract you from what the Lord has called you to do. And we ourselves, with our free will, myself included, RC is not immune from it. We'll shy away from what the Lord is calling because it's easier to seek comfort in the things that we like as opposed to what we're being called to do. My sister will tell you, all I wanted to do was write a book. That's it. I wanted to write a book for new police officers. This here Citizens Police Education Program, the year model, that was not part of the plan, my plan. It's part of the Lord's plan. This is what the Lord has called me to do. This is why I do it. As it relates to educating people on drinking, I just deal with so many people who use alcohol to distract themselves from what their real challenges are. And trust me, I'm one of those people. I like to talk. If you can't tell, I like to talk. I interact with people who when they tell me the story, I ask the question, well, why aren't you trying to resolve that? What is the Lord asking you to do? And they know it. They know it. Everybody knows what the Lord is calling you to do individually. But the enemy, his goal is to distract you, because understand this, between God and the enemy, it's about souls. It ain't about nothing else. How many of God's children can he bring down with him so that they do not reach the kingdom of God? And whatever tool he has to use, he will. And alcohol is one of his greatest tools. We see this every day. Alcohol is one of his greatest tools. From making poor decisions to taking your own life. Amen. It's what the enemy uses. So, y'all know me. I stay in my word. What I leave you with comes from Ephesians. And Regina, make sure you tell the elder that we use his favorite verse. Chapter 2, verse 10. The text reads, "For we are all God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." He has a plan for you and I. The question becomes, will you allow the Lord to use you the way that he wants to, that he has planned for you? Your greatness is already predestined. But we have the issue of getting in the way and trying to do things our own way. Like, how many people here have spent decades trying to do their own thing before they submit to the will of God? How many? How many people have spent countless hours basically pounding their head off of a wall, trying to do what they want to do, being distracted, knowing what the plan is, knowing what the goal is? Like, the Lord gives you the vision in a dream. He gives it to you while you're driving. But yet and still, we try to do it our own way and allow the enemy to distract us, because our time here is limited. The enemy ain't got no concern about time. Time is infinite for him in the Lord. It's infinite. But if he can keep you distracted for 40 years and you only lived another 20 years, then that's 40 years of not praising the Lord. He ain't had to worry about it. He did his job. Amen. He did his job. So I say to you as we leave, allow the Lord to use you to reach the greatness that he has planned for you, because that's ultimately where you will find your greatest happiness, in Christ Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. From this conversation, I hope you take away this information and use it and spread the message to others around you. I love you all. I will see you next time.